shit so low. Hold on.
Hey, yeah, okay, smoking on Neptune. Young man been in this bag, I'm fly like jet fuel. I know you wanted to, but nigga, we did it. I had to go get it. I couldn't just sit on it. Shorty depending on me. I'ma bring out the beast. Opposition is really a trait. Some skill in defeat. I say they weak in the knees. Hey, I got a feeling somebody gon' trip today. It's either me or them. Can't be no other way. I put a demon right here on my denim plate. Man in the mirror, I'm facing heavyweight. Shutting that off though, filling the plot holes. This is my story. I'll pass on the glory. I still get the bet. I know what's important. I'm scoring like Jordan. I smoke me a quarter, then cut up a half. I'm serving the order for your ass. They need it real bad, like kids need class. Ain't get it too fast. It took me some time. Don't pay no mind if you ain't got your own. Securing my home, paying back on these loans. Can't pick up the phone. I'm too out of space. I roll up and face it, going through phases. Yeah, I'm amazing, bitch. So many ways. Yeah, they won't be because they know they ain't big enough. Hold up, I got that whopper inside of my chopper. Don't make me say to the opera. Calling your doctor, you an imposter. 1 minute turn him to ash like a roster. 2 minutes I find the key to unlock the secret of life. I can't be enticed by all of these lights. Just I rock it all night. I'm in a space that's way out of sight. If they want war, we gon' finish the fight. That on life, don't put me on ice. I feel like Biggie, I'm ready to fly. Step to me, better be ready to die. Niggas transforming, vision be gorgeous. The bag was enormous.
This a hell of a damn. Turn a head into a tourist. Y'all on that bullshit. Way beyond when I'm still on my bullshit. You're a beginner and I got the blueprint. All of these fake messiahs is a nuisance. How in the fuck you used to being useless? Nigga, that's excuses. I been gaining my momentum, then I'm keeping confidential. Body instrumentals, guru monumental, intercontinental. Food for yourself, man, shit is supplemental. Opportunities, I ain't missing the shit. When you God gifted, always come in the quick. Had a division, I ain't stick to the script. Screaming, fuck the system, treat it just like my bitch. Get in out. Niggas want act out, I pull that whip out. I got a new way of affirmation. Making this money my confirmation. You niggas still have the same conversations. Talking about this and that, and her, and white, and black, and dog, and cat. The fuck is you at? Y'all niggas still talking about Jesus.
Fuck is you at? The fuck is you at?
Nah, man, I know it's spiritual warfare going on.
Fuck is you at? The fuck is you at?
Man, I know y'all still ain't talking about no 9 to 5.
Fuck is you at? Fuck is you at?
Fuck is you at? The fuck is you at? Okay,
Smoking on Neptune. Young man been in this bag. I'm fly like jet fuel. I know you wanted to, but nigga, we did it. I had to go get it. I couldn't just sit on it. Shorty depending on me. I'ma bring out the beast. I'm position treat. Some say they feeling defeat. I say they weak in the knees. Hey. What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. Watching Dave Beyond TV, where we go beyond that everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. Shout out to my boy Von the Guru. I'm saying that's off the tape. Gotta start somewhere, and that's where we at right now. The moon is clearly in Capricorn, you know what I'm saying? So when we talk about the moon being in Capricorn, things getting a little more serious, things getting a little colder as far as our we connecting a little bit more to reality and things of that nature. So, you know, we got to be very realistic about how we going about where the sun is at, which is currently in Leo. Shout out to everybody that just jumped in. Make sure y'all hit that like button, you know what I'm saying? Share with your friends and family. And then for the most part, so when we talk about the moon being in Capricorn, this creates an in conjunction with where the sun is at. So the sun being in Leo, right? That alignment in and of itself creates understanding. It's an in conjunction. So what happens is with the Capricorn type energy, it's just a more serious tone. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Claire Ray. I don't want to say your name wrong, but shout out to you. You say you're a Capricorn, so you know what I'm talking about. It's a much more of a serious type energy. It's ruled by Saturn. So this is about being, you know, really about your business, being about structure. I like to look at Capricorn and Saturn energy as an system. So, you know, Capricorns come about life. They come at life in a very systematic. They like to put things in place, be organized with things. It's practical. It's an earth sign, but it's a cardinal earth sign. So they like to initiate reality. They like to put things in motion as far as their system and things like that. You say you're using, okay, well, I'm glad you're listening. You know what I'm saying? Either way, you know what I'm saying? That's your opinion. If you want to talk how you want to talk, go ahead, get your own channel and you go live. You know what I'm saying? But so however I talk is how you going to listen. So for the most part, when we talk about Capricorn, like I was saying, about putting together a system, they like to initiate that. They like to be the initiator or leaders about how they want to do their business. So this is what makes them bosses, because your authority, it's like having authority is a matter of you take initiative on how you want to structure something. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the energy right now, that's where the moon is at. So the moon, one thing about the moon, we know is home in Cancer. So this opposite energy of where this is the opposite energy of Capricorn entirely. And this is where the moon is home at. So with the moon, that's your comfortability. That's how you feel, right? So it's home in Cancer, but its opposite energy is Capricorn. So when the moon transitions into Capricorn, that's when we might feel a little out of the norm. You know what I'm saying? It's, we feel a way of where we most come. Things that the moon likes are things related to Cancer, which is a water energy. It's about feelings, connection, being home, being private. But when it's on the other side of that, Capricorn, it has to use its feelings for being about its business. So this is about your responsibilities. And then ain't nothing wrong with caring about your responsibilities, but the issue comes in when, again, the pressure of when you're stressed out about responsibilities. Like, for instance, the analogy I give is like when you have a stressful day at work, but then you go home, but your mind is still at work. So you treat your family in maybe a more cold way because you're so used to that calculated way you have to be when you're dealing with business, when you're dealing with people you don't know, when you're trying to get something done. So when you come home and you still got that energy on you, y'all know your thing comes in, because it's like, damn, okay, you a little on edge, or you a little dry. You have that lively energy that makes us all feel connected and comfortable, like we should be in a home. Even when you get home, it's like you need a couple minutes to into a mode to relax. You know what I'm saying? You can't just get home and immediately start relaxing. Got to get home and kind of ease your way into your vibe again, until you feel comfortable to be like, you know, it's like getting home, taking your coat off, taking your shoes off, you know what I'm saying? Maybe get something to eat, then get on the couch, find your favorite show. That's like a 30-45 minute, maybe a couple process for most people, you know what I'm saying? Just in general. Shout out to Nikki, you say you just subscribed. Shout out to you, welcome aboard. So for the most part, when we think about this, where the moon is at, like you said, out of place, it's like the moon feels a little it feels very uncomfortable here, because the things it has to care about are things that don't really make it feel comfortable or connected. Things regarding your status and how you're coming across, what's your responsibilities, and even a structure and system in your life. And right now, we're going through a lot of different transits that might have brought up things where you can start to see and identify where, you know, you may not have it all together. You know what I'm saying? So it creates a society and maybe a little bit of uncomfortability with maybe where you at right now. You care about your status, but you don't quite see you in that position. You know what I'm saying? In today's age, all we do is get online on social media and see a bunch of people doing things that we wish we could do. We got work on Monday, or we trying to pay back a bill, or we trying to, you know, get out of debt type stuff. So it might cause you to look at yourself as if you're not quite at the status you want to be at. So that could cause, you know, a little uncomfortability. You be unsure about what it is you are actually passionate about, and what you might be focused on as an overall life goal or a purpose. You know what I'm saying? You might feel like that's not important. Maybe clocking into the job, or your creativity for that matter, you might not feel like that's the most important. However, with the sun in Leo energy wants to put something on stage. So it wants to be expressive. It wants to show people what it can do. And a lot of that energy comes from the 5th house, which is about creativity and about things that, you know, make you feel fulfilled in that sense of entertainment or enjoyment. So there's not a lot of things that, unless you're doing what you love to do at work, which is dope if you in that kind of situation, but majority of the people are in this world are forced in a situation where they have to do something that they don't quite like, or they're not pained by, they're not passionate about, for the sake of getting their responsibilities in order. So this is where that misunderstanding comes in, where the moon, where we feel comfortable, it's like we want to go for what was creative and what we enjoy, but we might not feel comfortable because we know we got to pay certain bills on time, and we might feel like second guess our ability to actually be successful in that, you know, because this is and this is not everybody, right? Because some people just have hobbies that they don't look to make money from, and that's cool, you know. But the people who are creative on the forefront and where they can do that full time and pay their bills with that creativity, this is where, again, you might start to feel frustrated or extra pressure, because you might be or misunderstand how you'll ever get to a point where that's possible. And that's a whole conversation, because even that in and of itself, you got to believe and have faith in your ability to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? Because hey, you are, as an individual, you got your own power. You know what I'm saying? We got to kind of build that confidence back up. Now, one of the positive, it's not just by nature positive, because it could be equally negative, and I'll get into that in a second. But for the most one is that in Capricorn, it's sextiling Saturn and Pisces. So Saturn is the ruling planet. You feel me? When we think about that relationship. A sextile is an opportunity for you to have the right emotional state that matches the responsibilities, systems that you might have to start to incorporate in order to actually build your and get to reality. You know, that's what Saturn represents. Saturn represents reality. So when we're dealing with Saturn, right, we're dealing with restrictions, boundaries, limits. That's all Pisces energy, and it's retrograde. So in Pisces, right, that's all about our imagination. So on one end, we might feel restricted with the ability to expand our imagination or be able to be creative, the time we have involved in our imagination and creativity. But on the other end, and so we might feel restricted on that, but on the other end, we can start to, if we look at it properly and we participate with the energy in a mature way, we can start to find ways that we can organize and structure our life in a way that makes room and space and time for that creativity, you know, so that it doesn't have to become a delusion. When Saturn and Pisces becomes a delusion, that looks like you trying to play out forms of escapism from the things that you actually have to pay attention to, aka your bills and just your overall living situation, the people you care for, the people that depend on you. Again, it might look like, damn, I never have time for my creativity because I'm always at work. But if you flip it around and change perspective, it's like, well, damn, the fact that I have a job, it affords me the time I need to be able to do my creativity in a comfortable way that doesn't hinder my growth or hinder those who depend on me. And that's kind of the more mature way to look at Saturn and Pisces. And being that it's in retrograde, we're seeing a lot of old ways we used to go about structuring reality. And we're seeing maybe where we can incorporate old things from the past, or where we just completely need to continue forward and create a whole new way of going about that entirely. Because again, old ways that we might have been going about it wasn't the right way. It was us trying to play escapism that led to, again, issues in other areas of our life. We wanted to take a certain amount of days off work that we wasn't supposed to, so we ended up losing that job, or we ended up getting in a position where, damn, you're super because you're trying to chase this dream, but you have nothing of reality. You have nothing realistic, not even a process. Because like, again, you might have been going for a dream, and let's say you did have the responsibilities in order, but you couldn't see progress in that dream because of you not actually organizing your content and making a schedule for yourself to be consistent and doing the things you know you need to do in your field, whatever it is that you're interested in. You know what I'm saying? You see the result of that. So, and you know, key word being result. We're going closer and closer into Virgo season, so results are going to matter a lot more than they might have previously. You know, during Leo season, we wanted to just get on stage, express ourselves, but now it's like, okay, all that shit you was expressing, where is the value in it? Where is, and especially value, Venus is in Virgo too, so where's the value in that? Where's the value in your results? Where, hey, damn, this person's consistency towards this goal led to them either getting better at the craft, obtaining some form of attention that shows that they have potential to continue to build on what they are presenting to the world, or is what you're presenting to the world anything of real substance and it's just falling flat, and we can see in the results that it's really amounting to anything productive or helpful to anybody else. It's probably more self-serving, and that's kind of where in Leo season a lot of the wrong route. A lot of things that they express or put on center stage is self-serving, self-centered, so it doesn't really hold any value to those around them. So what ends up happening is, yeah, you might get a spark of attention at first, but once peep you and see that you're not really doing nothing other than being on stage, being loud and vibrant, but nothing of substance is behind that, this is where now people going to switch the channel. Now people going to get off like, nah, I really don't want to tune into that. And it's not always personal. It might just be they're not into what you're presenting, and you got to be cool with that too. So that also puts you in a space where spiritually you can't be chasing validation. If there's something you want to do, you got to do it to the fullest. And you know, you can take a consensus of the people and create adjustments and do different things that's going to improve upon what you're presenting, but overall you can't be chasing that validation. Your confidence has to go from inside, because the second you let that confidence determined by somebody else's opinion, not only do they take power over you, they can knock you stage, and then they can take your whole shit, remix it and turn it into their presentation. And so now, instead of being somewhere embarrassed, you could, you know what I'm saying, instead of being somewhere on that stage feeling self and confident in your own stuff, you get embarrassed and now you want to hide away and not present stuff, you know. if you allow somebody to kick you off stage when you're the one who set the stage. You set up the show. It's like a comedian that be online, that be on stage. There's a heckler in the crowd, but instead of, you know, coming up with a clever way to address that and dominate their stage and take control of their stage, they let the heckler get them frustrated, emotionally aroused, and now they're reactive, and their whole set is now destroyed. All the attention, instead of went to that comedian, all that attention went to the heckler. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to be same thing being online and being with trolls online and stuff like that. Those in your chat that think that the show's about them. They clicked on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, this is my show. You know, and you got to be like that in your actual life, where, you know, it's your life. So how dare you let even down to a thought and feeling come around and kick you off your stage, get you away from doing what it is you want to do with your energy, your time here, because you as a person, as an individual, a spirit who got access to a body and built a whole brain and whole organism system, it's your right to express yourself, your true self, and be who you are. So how dare you let alone another individual, but even down to a feeling, keep you from being your true self? How dare you? You know what I'm saying? That's the type of stuff that in the eyes of God are disrespectful, and God can't work through you as that way, in that way. God can't really, you know, that's not how you speak God's language. And so in anything you do, you got to present yourself to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? You got to do what you do and let everything fall to the side. And an intelligent spirit will know how to take in constructive criticism, versus when you're being criticized for another person's insecurities or another person's vulnerabilities that they not strong enough to express or stand in. So they look at you and try to things that you do that they was ridiculed about and that they be terrified to do themselves, and why they got all this time in the world to be a troll or a heckler at a show that they paid to be at, but not enjoying the show. You just trying to pick it apart so you feel better. That's demon activity. You know what I'm saying? That's demonic activity, and you just got to see it for what it is. And it's not something to get frustrated about, but you keep it moving. Now, back to the moon in Capricorn. So that's the misunderstanding between the moon and the sun. The sun is how we feel. So this is like, you're motivated, right? We're all connected as far as where the moon is at. We're feeling and considering how we feel about our status, how we feel about what we got going on in the world, as far as the structure, our own reality, and our own responsibilities, but how you're going to act in that, how you're going to act on that, you might choose to act on it either in a way where you give more attention to where you're restricted, might dampen your stage, and might dim your light. Or you could flip that on the other end. You could start to understand where the areas in life you might need to take more serious, right? In order for that stage to actually be in a way that's profitable. And I'm using that as an analogy. It's like, it's more money, but I'm saying profitable or prosperous. That's the word I put in the title. Prosperity. Leo represents potential, but again, we see all the time people with great potential that don't amount to anything, and that lead to either poverty or people who got potential that end up living to that potential. But what determines that is the things that come with Capricorn: discipline, you know, focus, and ability to persevere through things, right? Because everything you do in life gonna be hard. That's how it is. But it's like, you got to choose your heart. You got to choose what it is you're gonna be involved in order for you to, it's like, either way, whether you choose the poverty path, that's a hard life, but it's just as hard as you getting up and choosing to go for your goals and stuff like that. Whether that's looking like you got to save up money, go to that job and do this, or just to get the baseline functions and reality structure foundation for your creativity to flourish, for your own business to flourish, or whatever it is that you're trying to do to flourish. So we can't be that's an immature way, or it's like a very immature way to look at life in the world, to think that there's an easy way to get what you want. If you any easy way is just prolonging or procrastinating on the hard work you're gonna have to do. Hard work, don't get that confused with, you know, mindless hustling. I'm not talking about overworking yourself, over stressing yourself, and pushing yourself for things that don't matter. But when you got a real goal, vision, or mission in your life, or I said mission twice, I meant purpose. You got a purpose. There's something you're called to do that you feel like you know, again, I do this thing for free. If that's what you feel and you're compelled to continue doing it, why not put together that focus? Why not put in the work to get that? You know what I'm saying? And that's a lot cheaper on your spirit is wasting away too worried about the work necessary to start the work. So you might choose the easy route because deep down inside, you're just ready to do what it is that you claim you want as a purpose, or you want as a goal, even down to desires. Desire is just a lower octave purpose, you know what I'm saying? In a sense, like when we think about a desire, that's kind of on the lower end, and that could be rooted in something that you want, right? But the grand goals and purpose and visions you have for your life, those are desires, but they're higher octave desires that lead you down a different path. Desire in general, the low octave desires, the quick pleasures and things like that, those things that don't require you to do the shadow work first. It kind of tempts you with the quick reward, but you're penalized with long-term effects of choosing that quick route, because chances are you're not building real strong character doing things that's like little petty desires. A lot of times those are you just kind of settling for animalistic natures to make you feel good with the body. But when you talk about real goals in life and real vision and having purpose, these things require you to do the shadow work on the front end. So the shadow work you do becomes you building a better, not only moral system, but system behind that. And then you become magnetic and you become a person that other people can see in a more, again, prosperous light that people want to not only be a part of, but you can now participate more in dream work. Teamwork makes the work, where other people now want to be a part of what you got going on, because you got a magnetic aura. You can tell that you into something that means something, and that inspires people. People want to be around you. When you settle for them lower desires, you're the one always chasing something around. You become almost like a leech, and people start to distance themselves from you in ways you're not really sure why, but it's because you're settling in life and you're not even going for the things you really want. So this is you living a very mundane life in a very, you know, in a way. And again, no judgment, because it is what it is, right? If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But if you're in that situation now, you're wondering why things aren't moving as fast for you as you want them to, and you larger than you want to do in life and in the world, then it starts with you deciding on what you know, making a choice on what it is you want to pertain. Who you want to be. First, you got to know who you are, and then you got to embody that. It's really not wondering who are you, you know what I'm saying, asking like, who do I want to be? I mean, you could do that to kind of get you somewhere, to get you started, and asking those questions help you. But at the same time, about going within yourself and you know, knowing who you are, to know who you are, so that then you can make better decisions as far as, you know, being more intentional with how you spend your time, how you live your life in general, your lifestyle. And that's you making better choices overall, because as you know yourself, you know, you get out of that kind of weird dichotomy of right or wrong, and you start to understand what's right for you and what's wrong for you. And then when you go even deeper, you knowing yourself helps you know others as well, in a sense, right? To where now you can make better decisions that don't cause other people unnecessary pain and trauma, because you know yourself and you're dealing with your own issues, subconscious shadow work. You make choices that don't directly harm others. How they say hurt people. Part of that shadow work process is healing. As you heal different aspects of yourself, you have better ways of relating around you, and that becomes you again, not being the source or the spark of somebody's trauma or the trigger of somebody else's trauma. Not that and again, sometimes you trigger people trauma not even on purpose, and sometimes you even got to play the vessel of that, you know, depending on the type of relationship or what's going on in that current moment, you know. And so it's not something to look at like you got to avoid. It's just how life is, you know what I'm saying? But you do it on a more prosperous, positive wave once you know, you do it on a more prosperous wave, in a sense of like developing how people would say good karma. But I don't want to get into the pop culture definition of what people say karma is, as some kind of ordinary thing that, you know what I'm saying, oh, it's going, you know what I'm saying, oh, karma come back and stuff like that. It's like developing good karma is really just you. It goes back to you being yourself. If you be your true self, you act in ways and are in alignment. So what you put out is what you get back. You act in alignment and you push off energy, you get things that's more aligned for you back to you. And that's how you develop better karma for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but you develop better karma. Now, you develop worse karma when you are, again, moving through life egotistical, right? Where we understand ego as not being your true self, but it being a mask at a certain point, right? An unhealthy ego is you trying to put up masks to hide some kind of vulnerability or insecurity. So it's you, and then it's also you being very reactive to things. So when I say reactive, anybody can say anything to make jump into a thought and feeling that's not yours, but you embody it, that's negative. So it's you being yourself, being the observer and choosing what it is that you want to act on, as like, because getting to a point where you develop your own thoughts and feelings, you know what to agree with versus what to slide by, because as thoughts and feelings come, you got to let them go, you got to let them flow, but we got to choose which ones we want to resonate with to give us energy to act in life, right? But before you even get there, if you're more reactionary, you don't know yourself, you're going to be responding to every thought and every feeling that you get hit by. And if you're a negative person, that's you taking every negative thought about yourself and others and putting that into the world, right? Applying that to your ego, using that to hide something. And some people, again, this is how people can not necessarily be deep into spirituality, but their natural energies and who they are lead them to make better choices, right? The people who might be more, not as aware, but still their general disposition is positive. But again, that has a negative effect too, because people who are too positive and always think the best and always feel, choose to feel happy, love, and light, these havoc in their own life as well, where they attract people who are who abuse them, and they play out naive energy, victim energy, and stuff like that. So that's just as potentially negative, just as like the person who's usually negative, again, that plays out as a lot of protection and a lot of positives in other ways. But the point of it is they're not in control of what they're manifesting for them to get back is stuff that doesn't align with them. So that creates more frustration, more stress, and less of a ability to kind of take control, authority over your own life. Now, when you know yourself, anything that passes by as a thought and feeling, you're able to take it and know what to take, not to take from it. You become intentional, and that's you just being a better spirit in general, a more powerful spirit, because now it's almost like you're creating with the universe instead of just letting things happen to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm always just taking them by whatever life throws at me, versus you. And again, it's not about controlling everything in some kind of weird mental way that some people get where they are narcissistic, but it's about you just being a better magician with what your life is doing. You know what I'm saying? You able to kind of, okay, I could jump into this thought form, this feeling, and I'll motivate, make these actions. And once you're in that space, you become more, again, it's like more intentional. You don't have to go through a million bad experiences to get to a certain goal or point. You can choose to just go straight to it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to go the roundabout way where you got to go through some kind of life-changing experiences that teaches you a lesson, and then now, okay, you can just directly cut to it if you know what it is you're trying to do, or you know what you're doing in general, and you jump into experiences and you can learn, but it's learning hands-on, not learning in a way that kind of just waste your time, in a sense, even though it's not really a waste of time if you learn something positive. But but that's how it be. I'm saying, the more you know yourself, the more smooth your transition life can be, potentially, if you know if you choose for yourself and you right, you know what I'm saying? Because even what you bring back to you, you manifest more positive type things. But getting back into the moon, so the moon is in conjuncting the sun. It's also in conjuncting the Chiron and the North Node in Aries. So the relationship between Capricorn and Aries wants to do it then and there. Oh no, it's squaring that energy. My fault, not in conjunction. Square with those, because those are two cardinal energies. So the relationship is Aries passion, wants to do things then and there right now, and is not really thinking too much of a system, thinking about what it's passionate to do at the moment, and that's that. You know what I'm saying? Capricorn is a little more calculated, however they still share passion. Capricorn, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and we know it's home in Aries, so they share the Capricorn can understand passion, but the Capricorn will look at the Aries energy as, you know, hey, you could get so much more if you put a little bit more method to your madness. If you actually directed this into a certain area, you could probably get more done more efficiently. Because like when we look at Capricorn energy, that's another word that that's associated with Capricorn: efficiency, execution. You know, doing things in a more efficient way. So Capricorn, again, when you think of a boss or a manager, they're better. The more the efficient they are, the less work they find themselves having to do. If they're a good manager, they'll have things set up in a way where it can get done and they don't have to exert as much energy as the actual worker doing it, right? But a lot of things as far as how intelligent that manager is and their ability to create a system for the people under them, that determines whether or not going to be successful in that whole venture. It's like if the manager can't think in terms of how to create a system for the people who work under them, then their whole department is going to fall and take a hit. But the better they are with that, the easier it is to promote individuals from their space onto the next one. But the faster they'll be able to get their work done and their numbers will look better. You know what I'm saying? But that comes with a certain level of patience and paying attention, having focus to be able to structure something. So with the moon, we feel this. So it's like a learning process between how we feel and our mistakes. You know, our mistakes, it's like we keep making these mistakes where we keep falling up short, right? Upon us being too into our own ways, too into our own passion, too all over the place, right? Not having no real patience. And so this is where, you know, the learning process between the moon and Capricorn and Chiron and Aries is like, look, we have to start to map out better systems that off of the mistakes that we made, so we don't keep running into the same issue. And it's frustrating a little bit because we just want to get there. We just want to get done with it. We just want to do the thing, achieve whatever it is that's a goal, or be in that circumstance we want to be in. The moon is like, the best thing we could do right now is take 2 steps back, look at what we made as a mistake, and restructure the whole thing from the ground up. We will get from point A to point B, but we just gotta be more efficient with it. We gotta take these mistakes into account so that we don't keep making the same ones again. So this is a good time in general for your own life to start to look at the systems you put together as far as your lifestyle, and then look at where you want to be at. Do these things match? Is the current lifestyle you live in, does that lead to you getting to the position you want to be in? And if so, how long, based upon how you going about your system, is it going to take? Once you calculate how long, the question now becomes, well, what can we do to make that shorter? That time span between point A and point B shorter? What could we potentially do? So this is really powerful for incorporating a new way to feel, so that you have a better emotional disposition to know how to handle going about your everyday process and structure. He said, with the moon in Leo right now, how can I harness this energy to express myself more creatively and confidently, ensuring I contribute to my personal growth and align with my mission? Well, so I'm assuming you saying your moon is in Leo. So your moon is making an in conjunction with the moon currently in Capricorn. So for you, that question, how can you harness energy to express yourself? This is kind of exactly what I'm talking about as far as Capricorn being about responsibilities. So when you think about Leo setting the stage, and we think about the moon's purpose, the moon in Capricorn, which is efficiency, effective, structure, boundaries, restrictions, and limits. You might need to incorporate more discipline in those areas that you're trying to be creative in order to create a better foundation to express yourself. Like either you expressing your, like, basically think about it in terms of, where does that moon in Leo lead you to be in certain moods or emotions that don't contribute to you being consistent on what you're trying to do as a job or a career or get to a status. And so you might have to create different ways of going about reacting to things for you to have more discipline to actually create structure and stability around what you're trying to do creative. That makes sense. Shout out to Joshua Brown. He said, no cap, bro, this retrograde been retrograding right. He said, learning a lot of lessons. The moon and Cap hitting right now too, I believe. Mental transformations. Right. And see, the thing about it is the moon in conjuncting Chiron, that's the whole misunderstanding is like from mistakes saying, okay, these are the mistakes. It's almost like looking at it and being like, damn, this is where I was rushing things. Like you can really look at where you shit and not doing it right. You was trying to do it quick and you ended up in a whole longer process just because of that mistake, And that mistake is rooted in Aries type energy. So being too quick to do something, too passionate, too aggressive with your approach, too selfish with your doing stuff. So this is like the moon is able to the moon will start to feel frustrated by that and start to be able to calculate that. But the positive that can come from that and saying, oh, okay, so next time I go about this, I need to slow it down like this. I need to put a system in place for how I go about this like this. It's also squaring with the North Node. So this is our spiritual path in general. So this is also the moon being able to look at certain ways as far as how we're going about our spiritual path. We got to tighten up. You know what I'm saying? We got to be more serious about it. It's also applying to Chiron too, being more serious about what we made as a mistake. And the seriousness comes from, we better not let that happen again. Like, I'll be damned if I go through that process again from the same mistake. We have to take it serious, and we have to, you know, when it comes to being disciplined, when it comes to, it's like Saturnian energy, we got to be strict on what we allow moving forward. Like, if we want to be successful, and y'all can tell who actually reach spaces of success, it's a certain strict attitude you got to have about not only your process, but the people around you, the things that you put your mind on, your feelings, entertain. All these different things matter. And we might not see that forefront behind closed doors though. Like, we might portray ourselves as being serious and strict, but when it really comes down to it, there's a lot of areas we probably still bullshit. That is the reason why it seems like it's taking a lot longer to get a spiritual path than necessary. And that's kind of what that square is also representing, that friction. So instead of being emotionally triggered by it to the point where you feel uncomfortable away from the work, right? Still forms of escapism. That moon and Sagittarius still be on us. So you might still get a little scared and want to run away, but you have to actually lean into it. Like you were saying, mental transformations. The transformation right here is, okay, let me get more serious. Even if I've been fucking up and falling short, let me tighten up. And if I tighten up and stop bitching and complaining about the little things now, but little things become big things when we don't address them. So it's like, if I stop bitching about the little things and I put the work in now, I'll be straight. And remember, we're getting closer to a full moon. So the full moon, you're going to see how that status impacts your ability to move within your network, and whether or not you got any leverage in that space. Because when we talk about a network, right, when we think about energies of Aquarius, one thing about, you know, that it shares with Capricorn, that Saturn energy that transfers over to the next sign, that's still a level of status. But the status when it goes into Aquarius is turned into social. If you've ever been in a social setting, based upon your connection to everybody in that setting would determine how much leverage, or like I'll say like social currency you got in that space. For instance, if you come around a completely new group of individuals and you don't know nobody, and let's say you say a joke, probability, right? Chances are that joke might hit if it's genuinely funny. But if nobody's you in that group and you just come out with a joke, especially if it's something like you roasting somebody in that group that's got more social currency, aka got more of a connection status amongst that group, you run a very high risk of that joke not hitting and you being exiled from that group, or judged in a way that make you feel distant and not connected. That's all Aquarian type energy. This is you in a group that you know everybody, and not only have you known everybody, but you helped and had certain private conversations with certain people, and who you are, they know your individuality, they know your sense of humor. When you go to tell, your probability skyrockets that, yeah, that joke gonna hit my group, they know me and shit like that. And we even know amongst friends, there's the friend that always get picked on, you know, the friend that's a scapegoat for a joke, versus the friend who, when they come around, they low key, like, we gonna kind of low key do whatever they want to do. You know what I'm saying? And see, this is how, like, social settings work, and that's how that she is represented in Aquarius. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's that status turned into social leverage or currency. And the thing about it is who we are and what we do back in an external way, right? The moon in Capricorn right here is still during the waxing part of the moon. So with the sun, what we've been expecting, we got to express this new maturity. We got to express some sense of being serious about what it is we do and what we got on that stage. If you come at that stage and you still slacking, you still goofing off, it might have worked for the moon in Sagittarius, where we was all about faith and trying to be jovial and yeah, let's express to the fullest. Now it's like, well, nah, for real though, what's the real value behind stage? Like, because if I come to your production and the lights don't even work and I see, you know, you ain't even got the right background, you know what I'm saying, part of the part the curtain is about to fall off and the seats in the audience is uncomfortable. These all things that matter as far as the quality of what you got on stage. You know what I'm saying? So you got to think, and I'm using that as an analogy for in your life. So how you live in life right now, especially if you're a content creator and you putting things out, like you might need to up the production value in a certain way, or you might need to go about it in a different way. That's again showing that you way more structured with how you're with your approach. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, shout out to Famous Malo. Shout out to Rare Vision in here. You said Cool J up in here. You said matter. Right, it matters. Things matter. So when we think about, you know, what's going on right now, we need to take that, what we need to express through Leo, the sun, is a form of being serious, taking what we do serious, you know, and kind of cutting out on just the attention for the sake of attention. What's the point of that attention? You know what I'm saying? What are we getting of it? I don't want to keep saying getting of value, although, you know, we got Uranus and Taurus. So that creates a trine with the moon. So this is a gift that we have to feel more unique about how we go about structure, how we go about setting up a system. Like that's kind of like telling you that's what the gift is right now. We in a time, even in the world, in life right now, in the world, because I'm referring to what's going on with society in you know, at the current moment, right? We're at a time in the world where you got access to a lot more things than you think. You know, when it comes to, hold on, I don't want my phone to get too hot. We gotta switch the format a little bit. So we at a time right now where like I said about the seriousness, right? How we're going about things being more serious. But we at a time in general, yo. Hold on, I gotta show y'all this. Nah, hold on. If it comes back, I'll show y'all. It's a big ass bug. But we at a time right now where, so with the moon trining Uranus, right? The uniqueness about you know, our uniqueness, our authenticity being one of the most powerful resources. With the moon in Capricorn, there's a gift here to start to connect to that in order to understand that right now, with all the access we have to the resources and you know, the internet, social media, the ability to get on and post content, get traction, get influence, with all these different things, have to put that into consideration to create something new as far as what we can build and our status at the current moment. So it's like the gift is being able to be more connected to that, to be able to look at your life and say, well, how do I make this work for me? You know what I'm saying? How do I actually put something together in a practical way that I can say, okay, yeah, this makes sense for me to live out life like this. You know what I'm saying? This is what I can do. Hey, shout out to Jackie Noon. I see wifey in the building too. she on guard, she on duty and stuff like that. But shout out to Free. But for the most part, when it comes to you know, right now, that's the gift. That's what we actually supposed to be doing right now. It's really a grand earth trine, because along with that gift of individuality, to be able to structure things in a unique way, and that's the key word right there, unique. You know, we can really put together a way of going about life, structure, handling responsibilities that work for us. We still got to be realistic about it. You know, that's the thing. We still got to be realistic and rooted in what actually makes sense. And this is where part of the Mercury retrograde plays a part, and Venus in Virgo. We have to appreciate the idea of structure in a sense some form of a routine, something that we could be consistent in, and also being able to critique what it is that's not working. And based upon what's working and what's not working, we can start to modify our process of going about life in general to be able to construct a way of going about whatever it is that we trying to get going in our personal life, you know what I'm saying, or professional life. Now, with it being the moon in Capricorn, a lot of it comes down to your emotional state. And this is also you being able to look deeper into your own vibrations and saying, wait, what emotions am I spending too much time in that's keeping me from being responsible or being on my responsibilities, doing my work? You know what I'm saying? What's keeping me from that? And you able to address that, the quicker you able to start to curve certain emotional reactions to certain things that don't really pertain to reality. Because see, the thing about the moon in Capricorn, you have to start to understand that what you feel at the moment, you got to ask the question of what's the uses. So if you're entertaining a lot of feelings of you know, self-doubt and I don't know if I'm gonna be capable to do this, even feelings that make you feel emotional about what people think about your work or what you're doing, if you spend too much time in this, what's the use of that? What's the use of self-doubt other than being used to create more procrastination? And what's more procrastination gonna do? More depression and upset energy, more anxiety, because you're not doing what it is you said you was finna do or what you want to do. So you got to think in terms of where are these emotions really leading me? How can I use these emotions? And what's the use of them? And if they don't have no positive use, then you got to start to redirect that. Start to initiate a better way of, you know, initiate a better way of feeling that deals with, you know, I think I am able to achieve that. I think I can do that. If I take myself out of that deep emotional space, I can start to just do something small. And that one thing I'm doing small can lead to something bigger. And if I keep consistent with that, boom, I can get to the next step. Now we just got to think in terms of that. Like, it's not about trying to get it all done in one day. It's a one step after the other, one foot after the other. Process, stability. If I can create a system for my life that helps me get my responsibilities done and keeps me making progress in my own, you know, whatever those personal goals, purpose, endeavors, mission is, that's all that's really mattering right now. The moon is also squaring the south node. So this is where we have to learn. It's almost like a form of tough love when it comes to what we're familiar with. We gotta, like, it's part of maturing too. It's like, I gotta apply some more tough love to what feels good to what feels comfortable to relate to. That's all that south node in Libra, you know, because it's Libra. So it's how we think and what we, you know, what we relate to. So there's relating to old ways of going about life. Again, there's things you probably was doing for years and years that at this point in time, it kind of don't make sense for you to keep doing that if where you want to be at is in a whole different space. You know, it's just some things we can bring with us, but when it comes to that south node, we might learn the difference between what we might be relating to that doesn't fit in that space we trying to go for this, for the direction of our life. It's like it just don't fit no more. I can't relate to that no more. And this is like things we might still be doing as habit. This could be anything, a way of thinking, even a certain way you relate to thoughts. Like I was just saying about the self-doubt, there might be a relationship you have, a certain way of feeling about what it is you like to do. For instance, you might have grew up and everybody told you, hey, that creative thing you like to do on the side, that's not really going to get you nowhere. And so your relationship with, whenever you get those feelings and thoughts of doing to do, you start to think back to what everybody used to tell you, your past, be like, damn, you know what? And you develop a habit of relating to what you really do as it's not that important. So you brush it off. But it's like, if you really think about it, let's say you in a situation right now where you've been kind of testing it out and people starting it online. You like, damn, okay. But every time you start to take it to the next step, become another old way of relating to that based upon your past upbringing, and you relate to it in a way that's like, you know what, nah, that's still not gonna get me. It's not important. It's not that. This is a prime example of where in this type of energy, if you're dealing with something like that, and remember, this is just one example. This could be related to anything the way you relate to it as far as mentality wise, like how you feel about it and how you think about it. the friction. You might have to learn how to kind of basically cut away from those feelings that's not leading to nothing. You know those feelings is not productive, because sometimes you got to open yourself up to the potential. See, Jupiter falls in Capricorn. At times that's where Capricorn can go negative. It can close itself off to the potential. But the thing about it is, in this context, right, you might have to put a restriction on not believing in that goal. You might have to put a restriction on the type of relationship you have with your potential for success. Like, the relationship with the ideas of you being successful are the ones that's actually holding you back from just being in a clear space to start to make sense out of something that could be a potential. It can, you know what I'm saying? When we go back to all possibilities, understanding that as God, right, all possibilities, you closing yourself out from a possibility simply because your relationship mentally with the vision of what you want to do and how you was raised to think and feel about it, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Elheem. He said, real shit, thought about this yesterday. Right. You know what I'm saying? We all on the same type of time. He said, I got in a big ass with you. Like, damn, that's tough for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Got to make better decisions. When we think about so basically that's that square between the moon in Capricorn and the south node in Libra. It's like old ways we was going about it. We might have to what to restrict as far as how we relate to our spiritual path, and we might have to cut out, restrict ourselves from certain ways of relating to thoughts and feelings that we used to relate to in order to the progress going towards where we supposed to be at. So in order to continue on, again, that the north node, that's everything that's kind of still scary. We don't know what's there yet, but we know that's where we want to go. So in order to get there, we have to look at, you know, in order to have the courage to still go through it and persist with it, we have to understand what we still relating to that's keeping us from doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because again, your simple relationship with a thought or a feeling, because thoughts and feelings is not us. As a spirit, we choose which ones we want to interact with, give attention to, and power to. Your relationship with certain mentalities is the reason why you still not making time to put your goals or purpose or whatever you do as a craft on a schedule. It's the reason why you're not taking it serious. You know what I'm saying? You always thought and felt like what you really wanted to do as a vision was not going to make you money, was not going to make you successful, was not going to help you in reality. So you brushed it off. You had a certain way of feeling about it. But now it's like, it's time to learn that and understand where we have to switch that up. We might have to restrict our old way of relating to it. Now, the moon also is trying, so I already talked about the trine with Venus, where being that these are two earth energies, the moon and Venus, you can start to, you have the gift to appreciate more of the process, more even of the critique and criticism. Now, this can go too far in the sense of overindulging in too much critique to the point where you still don't make no moves or action because you're too busy trying to fix everything, right? Or that's what you, part of, you gotta kind of learn how to fix things, but also still try new things in the process too. You can't just go in complete hideaway mode. I mean, some people might have to do that right now, and so, you know, everybody in different places. So even if you are in that space, just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not because you're scared, because you know that you're trying to prep and position things in a proper way for it to make sense. We are going closer and closer into Virgo season, so that's gonna matter. You know, how you structure shit is gonna matter. The result of it and your ability to execute an idea is gonna matter. Leo kind of cut us all some slack in the ability to kind of put something out there, and from what's already put out there, we can kind of play improv and come up with new ideas as we go. And sometimes just the flair and flamboyancy of whatever we put out was enough to suffice. But come Virgo season, we're gonna have to have some method. We're gonna have to have some kind of structure to where we can see, okay, and not along with that structure, ability to reproduce that same effect. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's the thing, like how they say in music, as soon as you make a hit, your career is potentially on the decline, because if you can't consistently come up with another hit, we question your ability to do that, and you might fall further in the charts. And now I'm speaking from, like, you know, and then not just basic music, you know, popular music and stuff like that, not act craft and stuff. But that's the idea when we talk about mainstream music and things like that. It's like, hey, if you make a hit, it's expected for you to be able to deliver that. Same thing with your first album's dope. If the next albums can't hit that same level, then people, you see how people talk about artists and stuff like that. They question them, they start to, you know, brush them off. And if you consistently do bad, then we completely not listening to you at all, you know. Or a lot of the fan base might break off and stuff like that. Some people still hold on. But my point in all this, right, talking about going into Virgo season, it's like we need to know how to execute, but not just a one and done or a one hit wonder. We got to figure out how we can execute on over and over again, you know what I'm saying? And the best way to do that is by putting together a putting together a process. He said start over from the beginning, man. Every song you preview for the intro is fire. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Mikey. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's on the album I dropped last year. Gotta start somewhere. SWV with my boy Vaughn the Guru. Really appreciate you. So, you know, but that's the thing, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, and that's what we're preparing ourselves for. Right now, we still in season. So you gotta, it's like 24 degrees. We got about 5 to 6 days. And I say that because we're gonna deal with a little bit of the cusp, but we got about 5-6 days to, you know, do what we need to do, get what we need to get expressed. But we probably don't even have that many days, because the full moon is coming up too. Full moon's gonna be in Aquarius. So like I said, right now it's so important to get that shit off, so that you kind of create the idea of what kind of status you're establishing for yourself. Right now though, the way that you express yourself gotta look like you trying to make sense. It's got to look like you the boss of whatever it is, or the authority of whatever it is that you're expressing. That's probably the best way I could put it. Expressing yourself in a way where you look like you the authority of your craft or whatever it is you got on that stage. Because the better you know how to do that, the better you'll be able to kind of position yourself, because Capricorn is about position, status. You'll position yourself in a way that, again, leads more to prosperous things being manifested versus poverty looking things that is manifested, which is begging. You was putting all this big old production and getting on stage for nothing, for you to just let us down, you know what I'm saying? And that kind of, it hurts in a way where during that full moon process, you might not have access or leverage or that social currency I was just talking about to be able to use connections and network as a resource. You know what I'm saying? It might fall short to the point where it's like, damn, nobody really sees the result or the structure, or nobody can make sense out of what it is you're trying to do. So yeah, you're an individual, but you might see your network start to distance themselves from you, simply because, you know, and honestly, it might just be in your head too, because a lot of times, a lot of this type of shit be in your head. It might just not your day that day, and you're in your head about stuff like that. It starts to feel like that. That don't mean it really is like that. It just feels like that. So what happens is you'll fuck around and you'll start to react, that full moon energy, overdo it, hit everybody you know in your network, like, yo, like my shit, yo, why you not like my shit? You start to beef with man, like that's kind of like in bad seeds, because you'll be on that end where you'll start to be a crash out in your network, and everybody got to look at you, and you got to think every time. The longer you stay in that crash out space within your associations and network, the less and less your status, all that goes. And then we got Pluto there. So Pluto already needs you to already be in that transformation. Pluto already been in retrograde, and that's kind of like the underlying thing. That's why the pressure kind of feels intense right now, because it's like, and the pressure is only the pressure is only intense because it's bringing to your attention the fact you can't bullshit the transformation as, like, you can't get away with not fully being transformed at the moment. Because if you still the same individual, falling for the same, doing the same things that wasn't getting you nowhere to begin with, people might not be able to catch on to what it is, but it's something. And by the time Pluto goes direct, you're gonna see the result of that. Your status is gonna be in the same place it is, But right now, it's like have the potential to actually do the work and put ourselves in that position to where we can be respected in that way. When Pluto goes direct and it moves back into Aquarius, and remember, these outer planets, these things is generational. These things determine phases of our life that we can mark. You know what I'm saying? Phases of development, phases and stages of us having things, us not having things. So, you know, you play around now, you keep playing around, like it's almost like the full moon will be a foreshadowing of where you probably won't be able to have no real leverage later on unless you change something. It's foreshadowing, but we know that even in that sense of, you know, looking at astrology long term, everything is dependent on the present. So it's foreshadowing what would happen if you don't actually transform. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the full moon passing through or being next to Pluto. So it's foreshadowing, hey, if you keep playing like this, when Pluto gets into Aquarius, this gonna be the type of things you gonna be dealing with. And play around like that, Pluto gonna take you through a death process, right? And death, we know transformation is that, but the way Pluto does it is it yanks it from under you. You ain't have time to prepare. The time to prepare was you knowing you was gonna die. Time to prepare. Life. When you live life and you on your deathbed and you like, damn, we didn't see it coming. You gotta live. That's why you gotta live your whole life like you finna die. You know what I'm saying? You gotta live life like you finna die. If you live life like you can live forever, that's when it happens in a way where it ain't right from under you. And all of a sudden, and it could even be an accident or something like that, where that moment, everything and what you took for granted before becomes something you now have to long and yearn for, or transform and turn into, again, take our control over it to become something else, transmuted. And that's what we have the access to do. So even if you are going through a hard time right now, it's all coming down to your ability to transmute that shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think, yeah, because it's like 29, it's 0 degrees Aquarius now, so we getting closer to it. So don't be scared right now. And another thing that can entice or incite fear is the moon being trine Lilith, because Lilith made its way back to Virgo from being in Libra, and it's conjunct the asteroid Juno. So Juno represents longevity. So longevity, and in a lot of ways they interpret it too as your ability to marry something, but in the form of being committed. When you commit to something, it's like you marrying it, right? So that's why even when we think about longevity, if you're committed to something, it's because you're preparing to be with it for an extended period of time, so on and so forth. So when we think about the energy or the asteroid of Juno conjunct Lilith, a lot of what we might feel kind of in the back of our mind, but is very well influencing us, is being a little either embarrassed about your ability to get to where you want to go, or very afraid and uncomfortable about your current space within that process. So, and it's really, you gotta understand Lilith, it's like a embarrassing type energy, not wanting to be, it's like a dark, they call it like the black moon. So it's something that you might even be trying to suppress, but you got to understand what it is that it's like you can be afraid of it and not actually take power over it. So what that looks like is you running away from it. So because you are afraid of kind of the commitment you really want to do, you'll create all kinds of excuses to get in between you and the ability to do that thing. So you'll come up with a million excuses, a million reasons why you shouldn't get started, and all these different unrealistic fears, just because you're too afraid to just dive into it and be a little vulnerable in that space, right? So we have the potential to be doing that with the things we see long term, where we've been working at it for a while, but it just starts to seem like, damn, am I ever going to get to that goal? Am I ever going to get to that circumstance? And you got to just remind yourself that this is the process. This is what you strong. This is what determines if you deserve it or not. Whether or not you can put together the right thoughts and feelings and consistently do the actions necessary to make it real. you know, no matter what it is that you're trying to do as a goal. So, you know, don't get caught up in that. But the moon is also trying in that. So again, along with this pressure to transform comes that too. We are looking at, and see, the thing about it is, and how it's actually a gift is all of that energy is showing you, right? Because one thing about thoughts and feelings hold information. They let you know, based upon your relationship to it, whether it's a good feeling or a bad one, where you stand in reference to the thing that you feel. If y'all get what I'm saying, I'm not trying to go too far into that. But what I mean by that is that anxiety you might feel towards a long-term goal or something you're committed as a mission, vision, plan, purpose. You can start to calculate, again, that Capricorn energy on a high octave is you taking responsibility for it. You taking authority for it and say, this is actually what I want to do long term, or this is where I want to be at. I gotta take it more serious. And this is where it's a gift, because it's the gift to kind of show you these are the fears you're dealing with that's keeping you from doing what it to get to that position. At that point, all you got to do is look at things you fear, address those things, and what's going to make that happen is you transforming, is you changing changing how you go about, changing how you see them, so that you can address them more in a more, again, I want to say professional way. You could take really not professional, but mature. You address them in a more mature way, where you say, okay, instead of, again, creating a sense of escapism or blaming somebody outside of me for not having the right tools to deal with something, I'm going to address it head on. I'm going to develop what I need to do it, structure it in the way I know best, and I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? And as we go into yeah, so that's the relationship. That's the moon trine in Lilith and Juno, you know. And again, the moon trine in Juno, that's a pop, because that's like you feeling like you're prepared, or that you potentially get yourself to be prepared to handle the responsibilities of what you're committed to. So this is like, you know, that upright energy where you're like, okay, yeah, I know I can do this, you know. That's how you should be talking to yourself. It's just Lilith is going to be in the back of your ear like, well, I mean, it's taken so long up until this point, and look at all the things you kind of did that was a failure. Look at all the things that you can't predict, and you know, all kinds of things in your ear. That's just a bunch of babble. You know what I'm saying? And again, if you take too many of those things into consideration, you might start to feel on the lower octave end of Capricorn, you might start to feel kind of like where he's like, there's an ice box where my heart used to be, where you disconnect now from things that you actually could be able to do, or the potential to do those things. You block yourself out, you block yourself from connecting to those things, and that's like you going on autopilot or robot mode, and that's not solution. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we got to put ourselves in certain spaces to get things done, but that's not really, you can't stay in that mode. You know what I'm saying? Not really living life. You know, you're just, that's a lot of times a trauma response, trying to disassociate from something so that you could just get it done. But sometimes that's a trauma response, and that's not actually true to you, you know. Like I said before, thoughts and feelings are information. So making your heart an icebox, you missing out on valuable information. You know, feelings are important on that regard. They hold information, and that's really it. But again, the thoughts and feelings you resonate with, like I was saying in that other live or video, I think it was a video, they either are going to enhance your truth or dilute it. And if you ignore feelings, and you know what I'm saying, you get to a point where, you know, you're resonating with the wrong ones, and you're choosing to not, you're probably diluting yourself. You know what I'm saying? Lying to yourself, telling yourself certain ways to make you feel better or make you think better, but they're not actually true to you. And the more you get to true to you, and you deal with the uncomfortability of being you, that's the stronger you get as a spirit to be able to deserve one of a kind type experiences, where it's like it looked like you going through life on easy mode, not knowing other people from the outside looking in see you living life in easy mode, aka damn, this done blew up, they done went here, they doing this, they damn. But even though it to you is not easy mode, it's like you was just being yourself. In fact, it was living life in hard. To be yourself consistently, it causes you to challenge. You gotta, it's challenging. You know what I'm saying? It's not no easy thing. You got to make decisions going against certain things that everybody around you is looking at you like, damn, well, why would they do this? You know, that takes a lot of courage. You know what I'm saying? That's not no easy shit. So, and that's what the majority of the world struggles with, you know. So, yeah, the moon also is in conjunct Mars. So misunderstanding what to be passionate about, but from the sense of information. So again, this is kind of where we need to close the books and just go out and do it. The moon in conjunct Jupiter kind of makes us misunderstand whether or not we actually should do that, because it's like Jupiter's like, well, if you don't know what to do, then where should we do? Where should we start? We should get more information on where to start, or where to do this, or where to build that. But the moon in Capricorn has to, part of putting that structure together, that blueprint, sometimes you got to start with it. You know, if we spend too much time trying to find the information to do something, it's like, you know, will we ever get to it type of thing, you know. So that's kind of the relationship between those. But the moon, you know what I'm saying, and then even on the other end, sometimes it might be some things you need to learn more. And overall, you know, we know even with the retrograde involved too, we don't need to rush anything. You know, only thing you need to do is kind of pay attention to your own way of going about. It's like you got to make sure you're doing what you need to do and staying consistent on your path. But anything outside of your own steady pace to keep yours running, it don't need to look like rushing. It don't need to look like you trying to overdo it, take too many things on your plate too soon. You know what I'm saying? We have to kind of still breathe and take our time with it. But any type of rushing energy, or somebody around you is projecting onto you in a way they making you rush, you got to side eye them and kind of create a little boundary to say, like, you know, say everybody is very important, especially in the year 8, that we do things according to our pace. Not everything can be done in a flash. Not everything can be done. And a lot of times project their stress onto you, trying to get you on their timeline. And that's how they mess you up, you know. If there's trusted people around you, or, you know, sometimes, you know, like you take too long with something. And, you know, that's why, like, it's not about trying to be negative towards people who, you know, are you to speed up with something, or, you know what I'm saying, especially if you in some kind of relationship or connected to certain people around you, y'all gotta kind of work together. So they might be trying to bring something to your attention that is very important and urgent for y'all to be smooth, you know what I'm saying? So don't be self-centered in that sense. Don't be trying to, like, you know what I'm saying, kind of be like, man, I'm not doing that. You know, that's like the still like Capricorn energy, being a little selfish with it. But most part though, we gotta keep our pace, and we gotta do things in a way where we're rushing. We're not doing things out of desperation. We're not you know, because when you're doing things out of desperation, you might as well, you good as dead. You know what I'm saying? It's like you doing things out of desperation, you put yourself in all kinds of situations that go against your favor, you know. So we have to be wise about that overall. But that's just a misunderstanding between Mars and Jupiter. Misunderstanding how to feel about it, how to feel about our past, and how to feel about our experiences. We don't know really what's going on, but we know we have to be consistent with what it is that we are doing, and the very, you know, whatever resources we have access to, that's what we got to work with. And anything trying to ponder outside of that is really just la la land. It's like, it's not really useful. So keep it focused, and keep it on your pace. You know what I'm saying? And again, this is not saying to slow down, slow up, because as we, you know, again, we going into the last portion of the summer, a mutable energy, Virgo. So it's actually speed up energy. And it's just right now we dealing with a certain amount of retrograde that make it hard to do that. You know, you got to slow down regardless, but don't slow down more than necessary. Now, Mercury is finna go direct on the 28th. I think we got, what, 16th? So we got like 12 more days. But it's in Leo. So that's another in conjunction. But the energy of it still is kind of Virgo. So when Mercury was in Virgo, we was kind of feeling hyped to start to do these things, right? The thing about it is we're second question the presentation entirely. So with Mercury back in Leo, conjuncting the current moon, this is actually helpful too, because everything that we misunderstand about the presentation the first time, now is our chance to go back and again make it more serious. So with the lights, the lighting and stuff like that, now you're intentional with how you want to express what's on your mind, how you want to communicate, how you want to convey your messages. That's all Mercury is doing. Mercury is how we convey inside out to make it make sense and turn it into information. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Pamela. You say you think you're late. Yeah, you right on time. But when we think about communicating and conveying what's inside out, you know, that's all that Leo is. So everything we've been rethinking as far as how we're going about things, what we think about when it comes to you know, our expression, and then, you know, depending on the area of life, this will let you know kind of what theme is behind that. It's been rethinking how to structure it, what's working and what's not in Virgo. Now in Leo, how do we express that though? But how do we express it the right way? And that's going to be kind of some, you know, more of the beneficial ways of looking at that energy, versus looking at it as something to frustrate you, overthinking about how we went about it and quite sure and about whether or not it's worth putting on stage. Because that's kind of what the conversation between Capricorn and Leo could be. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you said they messing with the audio? God damn. Let me know if it's back. They be tripping, man. They be tripping. Let me cook. He says choppy. Okay. I'm gonna give it a second. Y'all let me know when it's back. Yup. How about now? It's good? Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's the whole thing, right? With the in conjunction, the moon in Cap, it's just it could lead you to kind of just completely doubt that stage entirely, completely, you know what I'm saying? Like I was talking about Jupiter kind of falling there. It's like it can start to look like, man, why did I even try that in the first place? But you know, you got to kind of have that conversation with yourself and decide whether or not that's how you really feel. Because if that's how you really feel, then cool. All right, then now you know it's time to switch something up and maybe do something in the meanwhile until you get your mind back together to do what you want to do next. That happens. That's life. But on the other end of it, if it's what you really think and that who you truly are, then this is where you just gonna have to chalk it up to, well, okay, let me get out of that thought form entirely and remind myself I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's gonna look like you being more mature. Because as a spiritual, when you go through things that you don't like, you don't sit there and become a victim. You get up and try something different. You try a different angle. So you got to treat yourself like, if you somewhere crying about something you know in your heart and soul you really want to do, then okay, brush it off and let's figure out what we can do next. You know what I'm saying? Same process, but again, there's times where we acknowledge the fact that, yeah, that wasn't, I'm not meant to do that. That's not even what I feel like doing. Cool. Brush it off versus I really do want to do that. I just did it. I didn't go about it the right way. I fell short. All right. So what? Get up. Let's do it again. You know what I'm saying? Or let's do something. Let's do it better. So hopefully I could put it here and it don't trip. Because, you know, during the summertime, if I put right here on my hood, it'll overheat. But so that's the basic kind of what we're dealing with on that end. What else? Let me see. Moon is, hold on. Yep. It's passing through Ceres, which is another asteroid too, but it's dealing with responsibility. It's dealing with what we see as a responsibility, what we might not always want to be responsible for. So that's in the sign of Capricorn, and it's retrograde. So right now, again, this is like taking care of foundational type things. We got to clean up the foundation of what things are going to be, what we're going to place this new structure on. If we're going to structure our life, we got to clean out what's causing the clutter. And so this is part of that too. But this being conjunct the moon, this is just us being connected to that. So we know at the point in time what's not going to cut it as far as our efforts or our what we got going on in general, you know. And so right now, the main thing about it really with all these energies, it just comes down to being yourself. Like, yo, this is not gonna get it. I need to adjust myself like this. And you have to have the ability to kind of just accept that, move accordingly. You know what I'm saying? Anytime you trying to create an excuse for something or get by on something, cut a corner, this is going to be the time where we're going to get hit with it the most. And again, leading up into the full moon is going to lead, I was explaining, as bad seeds, where you're not going to have the right leverage in that association. You're not even going to have the proper way of associating with yourself. Own mentalities, your mind going to be all over the place, and you're going to start to ghost things that you was just getting there with. You know what I'm saying? You start to ghost what you wanted as a purpose. You start to ghost people who actually supported you. You're going to start to ghost the wrong things. You might even yourself. You stop becoming yourself and you jumping into a whole different space as a trauma response, trying to run away from how you feel, because you let how you feel get out of hand. You let it get chaos, turned it into something that is now your own monster. You know what I'm saying? Where now you done fulfilled your cup with so much dirty water, you poisoned yourself. That's like you coming up with all kinds of thoughts of self-doubt, allowing these to get larger than life, and you hate yourself because you're not doing what you want to do, and you're too scared to confront those things and do it. So, you know, again, if you take it serious, you know what I'm saying, get some authority about you, you can start to put this shit in place. And as you things in place and proper where it's supposed to be at, as far as your mind, you put thoughts where they need to be at, get rid of the ones that don't apply, feelings, put them where they need to go, take away the ones that don't. You start being an adult. You take accountability for how you're using your mind and how you're using your time with your body, because when we take these things and they inspire us to act, the doing things in real life is just as important as what's on our mind. And we have to make sure we're actually doing what we need to do in time, and not just sitting around wasting time being too overwhelmed and all these other things. What we're actually doing with that time, if these things align, then we have a better chance of actually seeing the result of that, because we deserve it. And as we get those manifestations, that's when we have to jump into these things and actually show up. We have to apply what we know. We may fall short. Trying is better than not trying. You know what I'm saying? But if we succeed and we go further, okay, boom, now we on to the next thing. And this is how we continue to build and materialize. But other than that, you know, again, this is leader energy too. Like I was saying in that last live, leader, you know what I'm saying? Think leader. And then Saint also added a good point where he was saying, even if you are not necessarily wanting to be a leader, know how to support those who dwell. You know what I'm saying? Be a very strong supporter, because that's just as important too. That's the equivalent of the other people who might not themselves want to see the people they admire do or they support do. But hey, if someone can do it for them, all the support in the world. So being a proper supporter works too, you know. But yeah, so now that's kind of the name of the game, you know what I'm saying? So y'all take it easy, well, not too easy actually. Y'all get serious and make sure you know what I'm saying, you execute the plan, do your ideas, you know what I'm saying? Much love. I appreciate all y'all for coming through, you know what I'm saying? This is a little, you know, it's still kind of, what is it? Yeah, we in the afternoon, early afternoon, so we got a lot of time, a lot of, you know, time in the day to do something important or productive today. So, you know, get to it, you know what I'm saying? What's going on? So yeah, I'm not going now. I don't got nothing. Oh yeah, nah, I'll wait to announce that. But for those who are interested, we got the Divine Feminine Teach One class coming up real soon. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be real dope. So further details are on the way. But if you're, you know, you're interested in being one of our inside of being a part, let me stop talking so fast. If you're interested in being a part of one of Teach One classes, don't hesitate to hit me up or hit us up at 717conference.info@gmail.com, and I'll get you, you know, first that get the information when it's ready to be dropped publicly. And you know, signups are gonna start soon. So yes, shout out to Mango, appreciate you, you know what I'm saying? So thank y'all, much love, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.